You're listening to Inside iOS Dev, show about real-world iOS development. Today with you, your hosts Alex Bush
and Andrew Rome.
And today we're going to talk about must-watch WWDC 2017 videos.
That's right. Me and Alex have been going through the videos. Haven't watched them all, but we've kind of triaged what we believe are some of the most important videos. So I think this episode is just kind of an intro to WWDC in general, and like a starting point of what videos to watch. We recommend you watch the full videos, but I think the value here is just having a starting point from where to branch off from. And just as a quick disclaimer, this is by no means exhaustive. This is just what me and Alex found particularly interesting for us as iOS developers. And to start off, we have this is a must-watch, the keynote.
Not surprising.
This is, I would say, not necessarily for devs. This is really targeted towards a general audience, people who maybe are Apple fans or reporters, things like that. Still useful to watch this because this is kind of the video that everyone else, the general public, is going to be talking about. So it's good to watch it. I would say the platform State of the Union, which we'll talk about later, is more of the keynote, and I'm air quoting, the keynote for devs.
Right. Basically,
at the keynote, they're listing all the new user-facing stuff and new shiny products and things like that. And I guess one of the big introductions was the HomePod.
Yeah, that's a new Google Home type thing, or Alexa.
Right, so I don't know if it's actually competing as a kind of with Alexa or Google Home. I think it's just like a smart speaker. I think they compared it to a speaker.
Sonos.
Yeah,
system.
Yeah. So that will have Siri in there, and that will have great sound quality. They also introduced the name of the new Mac OS High Sierra. Updated the Mac OS. Also introduced iOS 11 and talked about the new things introduced there. We have updated MacBooks. The MacBooks now have the new much wanted Kaby Lake processors, so they're much faster. Updated iMacs. The new iMac Pro is a lot of people are very excited about this. It's the most powerful Mac ever made. Another interesting feature is person-to-person payments through messages. So you can, kind of like a Venmo or Cash kind of thing where you can send money to each other. You can now do it through messages. You have a redesigned control center. I think they just kind of simplified it and put more things on the one screen there, so it's easier to access. I would say this is more appropriate for us developers. App Store redesign, and I think they made a lot of changes around the rules of the App Store, so this is important to know for devs. They also introduced the iPad Pro with a 10.5-inch display, and also announced Amazon Prime Video coming to tvOS, and finally they introduced watchOS 4 and all the new updates. So that's just quickly kind of an overview of what was in there. We recommend, again, that you watch the video.
Next video that we highly recommend watching is Platform State of the Union. In that video, it's, as Andrew mentioned, more of a keynote for developers, right?
Watch this. It's a must watch if you're a dev.
Yeah. Gives you an overview of what's new in Xcode 9, and essentially it's new editor, it's faster, and we now have refactoring for Swift. Then Swift 3.2 and 4 coexist together, and it's easier to migrate.
So yeah, basically you can have 3.2 and 4.0 code exist at the same time. So you can have let's say you have libraries in Swift 3.2, those can still exist in your code base, and then you can, as they update, have them upgrade them.
Also, other Swift changes, faster build times, new API for strings, they act like collections now, makes sense, a new codable protocol for serializing things to and from JSON.
Might be a great replacement for things like Mantle.
Right. Another big change in the thing covered in that video, core technologies, new build system, essentially, that's what powers the Xcode 9, and it's faster than before. New indexing system, again, faster, improved.
So yeah, things like looking up a file are going to be pretty much instant. So, yeah.
And new debugging tools, and especially a cool one is the one with threads, and when it helps you catch when you execute UI code not on the main thread. Another big thing they covered in this video: new APIs in iOS 11. One huge addition there is drag and drop and productivity APIs. So essentially now on iPhone, but on iPad specifically, you can drag certain elements of or pieces of content in your apps and drag them not just within your application but outside of your app, and drag it into another app with like nice animation, and they provide this whole suite of APIs for that.
Right, and so it will exist both. Drag and drop will exist both in the iPhone and in the iPad. However, the catch is in the iPhone you cannot do inter-app drag and drop, only within app.
Another thing is new files support. So now iOS system supports files, and essentially it's like local files, iCloud files, and third-party service files in the cloud. That thing basically kind of behaves like a UI image picker in a way, but you have
files. This view controller that will be presented. And you say what kind of files your application supports, and like Alex said, it's like this image picker, but it looks like the image picker in a way where you just like choose the user can choose the files they're interested in.
Another big addition, vision APIs. That is essentially APIs for camera that do face and landmark detection, text detection, barcode detection, object tracking, and it under the hood it uses Core ML, which is core machine learning, a new framework to drive and power all of this.
And Core ML was core machine learning, or Core ML was another new set of APIs.
Essentially Apple now they allow us to use machine learning
client side
in the iOS applications. That's amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next up is what's new in Swift 4. This was a very technically dense video, and also dense in terms of the volume of information that was in there. One thing I would recommend is watch the WWDC video, but I think, at least for me, and this might be for others as well, I think actually reading other resources about what's new in Swift 4 might be better in a way.
Yeah, because in the video they went overboard a little, in my opinion, with technical details of how things were implemented and built and reasons, rather than like those articles really show you the code, right? And
how you're going to use them as iOS dev day to day. So one of them is Ray Wenderlich's What's New in Swift 4. You can Google that. I think it's got a ton of good information. Also, hackingwithswift.com has another article titled What's New in Swift 4.0. And then also there's this other great resource, and it was actually mentioned in the WWDC video by the presenter. He recommended it. So Ole Begeman is a blogger, and he has released an Xcode playground showcasing all of the things introduced in Swift 4. So I think going to those resources will be a great way of learning what's in Swift 4. But just as a quick TLDR of the WWDC video, we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the things that are that they mentioned in the video.
And one of the big things covered is language refinements and additions. So access control now, private variables and methods are accessible in extensions. That makes a lot of sense. So if you have a private variable in your new class and then you extend it somewhere, it's going to be available there.
Very sensible.
Generics and types now can have this two-type conformance like Objective-C had. So roughly speaking, let's say you define an array of views, you now could have that view type also be specified that it conforms to some other protocol.
Right.
That is something, again, that Objective-C had and was not available in Swift.
Super useful.
Also, improvements to key path. They now, not just strings, but they compile time checks are there for key paths and runtime checks as well, so that,
So basically the things that can be checked at compile time will happen in terms of whether this key path is valid or not. And there are cases where the compiler just not enough information. Then if it doesn't know a compile time, then it will also check at runtime. And this is great because now you have this protection, and you're not dealing with strings anymore, which are prone to error. So just more safety in general with these key paths improvements.
Another thing covered in this video is Swift archiving and serializations. That's related to the new codable protocol. Another big thing covered in what's new in Swift, source compatibility. So essentially, Swift 3 and 4 are compatible with each other and easy to migrate from one to another. Another topic covered tools and performance. New build system. It's faster. Mixing Objective-C and Swift is faster on compile level. Testing builds are faster now too. So essentially the problem before was when you make a build, it does not necessarily make a build for testing as well. Mm-hmm. And you had to kind of build it again. Now that step's it's just
included within the normal build.
Yeah. Indexing improvements covered as well. That what we mentioned already. Symbols lookup and classes lookup is faster now. And Swift performance improvements and memory allocation for generics and other types. Another good video to watch is what's new in CocoaTouch. Essentially, they have three big groups of things they cover there. One is productivity APIs, and it's drag and drop that we already mentioned, and the file management. Another big group is refinements to UI. The biggest change there, new navbar additions, navigation bar.
Yeah, you're basically going to have a large title on top of the navbar. This is already in the Apple Music app, so if you want to see what it's going to look like, it's that. But basically with this new navbar, you're going to have some nice things like you can have an integrated search bar in that navbar. You're going to have like this larger navbar will automatically collapse and the text will get smaller and look like, the classic navbar kind of look that you're used to. Pull to refresh will be integrated with it. So I think this is going to be something that we'll probably have to learn because it seems like Apple's pushing for this.
And also other additions to that related to that safe area inset from top and bottom to indicate where the bar is taking space is now kind of, I guess, easier to use, and it's there. So it's for us, it's
basically it's going to tell you where the system UI elements are blocking so like you have your nav bar at the top and you have your tab bar at the bottom. Typically the safe area insights will say, hey, this is the area that's like the safe area that's your content. It's nice.
Yeah. Another big topic discussed in that video is additions and improvements to existing APIs. One portion is the things already kind of overlapping with what's new in Swift. It's archiving for Swift native types and new key path type. But other than that, they also went over view controllers now have a new property that kind of defines whether touches on and swipes on the edges of the view controller will be
detected by the system. So things like the navigation center, for example, or swipes that are on the edges, you can choose whether or not they will be picked up and responded to by the system.
Right. I also covered in that video auto layout changes, new UI scroll view, content layout guide, and frame layout guide to help you with, working with scroll views using auto layout. Dynamic type, sizing your text, and again, additions in changes in auto layout to support it. Password autofill, that is a new UI element that helps you get data from keychain for your passwords to kind of autofill.
Right, it's kind of like a 1Password thing. It'll autofill a password for your login.
Asset catalogs additions, now colors can be defined in you can have your custom colors there defined, icons, PDF backed images with vector data.
Yeah, and you also have variable refresh rate, so and that will be settable. So for things like cinematic content, or if you have a video game, you can play with that to try to have a better look.
Okay, guys, these are the must-watch videos of WWDC 2017. Please don't. Every year, I tell myself I'm gonna watch all of them, and I make this big promise, and I never do. So please don't be like me and actually watch them. It's really, really beneficial and useful.
What's a system we can come up with where you can watch? What's a system where we can come up with where you will watch more videos, more systematic, and have a more systematic approach?
What works for me, like, just simply, allocate some time, like 2 hours this Saturday, right, midday, and pick one video that you're gonna watch.
And how do you pick the videos?
Well, I guess, either based on your interest, what do you want to learn more about Swift, or you just want to have like a general overview about what's new in the platform. But again, right, just pick one. It doesn't matter really. They're all very useful.
Yeah, guys, and if you don't understand anything, or you need some clarification, or if you just want to have a conversation, reach out to us on Twitter. You can find us on @InsideIOSDev on Twitter, or by email. You can reach us at hello@insideiosdev.com. So yeah, that'd be great. We'd love to talk to you guys.
Yeah, I would love to chat. Love to help.
Oh, and another thing I wanted to close out with was honorable mention video, at least one for me. And I don't think this WWDC video in particular might not help you with your day-to-day, like, oh, I'm in a rush, I'm trying to get this feature out. But I thought that this video was great because it just reminds you that we are all human, and I just thought it was a really good video to watch because it was actually just inspiring and really, really cool. And it's video entitled "Convenience for You is Independence for Me." And basically what that is in this video, there is a quadriplegic, I think that's what it is, where he's paralyzed from the shoulders down. This guy gives a speech, he's paralyzed from the shoulders down, and he talks about how he uses the accessibility features on iOS to basically make his life livable in a way. And that's kind of like the title, "Convenience for You is Independence for Me." So he talks about how with these accessibility features, he's able to do things like, simple things like turn on lights, access apps and be able to use them. So I think this is a really good video. I really recommend it. It was really inspiring and really touching.
All right, guys, that's it for today. We'll be here next week with the next episode.
Yes, we will. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.